Is this the clicker? I've got to make sure which way I'm going. I'm probably going to go backwards in a minute, but never mind. There's some really new faces in the room for me today, so if I haven't met you, said hi, or had a chance to chat today, I'll do a super quick introduction. So, my name is Jo McMeechan, also known in the industry as Jo McChicken, which is a very long story. I can't introduce myself as Jo McMeechan without thinking McChicken, but here I am. I'm an inclusion consultant and trainer, and I'm going to be talking to you a little bit today about how to grow with inclusive impact. Let me see if I'm going forwards or backwards, one sec. Oh, I knew I was going to do that. Look at that, there we go. Out of interest, of those of you in the room, who here has ever either worked actively on inclusion and accessibility in your business or thought about it? Cool, so we've got a good few hands coming up. Whether you have or you haven't, who here has shit their pants about doing it? Yeah, okay, it's a pretty valid feeling. It comes up a lot for a lot of people. And I find for a lot of the people that I work with, they kind of sit in one of two camps. They're either in this light bulb moment phase of, oh my God, I've never really thought of this as a thing that I need to work on in my business, that I should work on in my business, you know, how would I even get started? And then there's the other end of the spectrum, which is in the proper shit your pants phase, where something's gone wrong and we're in a bit of an SOS phase of, I've been called out, something's happened, I didn't notice something that was, you know, was in my business, I didn't even think that it was going to be a thing, or we've gotten past that phase into a space of reputational damage. So wherever you are in the camp, wherever you are in the journey, whether you're at light bulb phase, you've had a shit your pants moment and you've kind of moved past it, it doesn't really matter. What matters is this quote here, and I love this when it comes to inclusion. So you can feel the fear and do it anyway, with anything around inclusion and accessibility. This is a quote by Maya Angelou, who's incredible. And she says, do the best you can with what you know until you know better, and then do better. And really, I think it's something to stand by when we're working with inclusion and accessibility. It's one of the things that when we know better, we do better. So if you have a light bulb moment, a shit your pants moment, how do we move past it? We go on and we do better with it. And I'm going to give you some tips about how to go on and do better now you've started thinking about it. Because it's a process that we have to follow. We have to have this awareness that something needs doing. We have to understand from a place of lived experience. Now, for me, I'm a queer and neurodivergent business owner, but I'm also a SEN parent. I've got 2 kids who are autistic ADHD, who've had huge battles with the education system. So I can speak from a place of lived experience around those areas of inclusion. I can't speak from a place of lived experience around my areas of privilege because I'm still a white, cisgendered woman, and there is a lot that I don't know and can't speak on. So in that process of self-awareness, I know that I have to build my knowledge. I know that I have to go and do that by talking to more people who don't look, sound, and act like me. And in that process, it allows me to show up as more of an active ally. In the areas of intersectional inclusion that I don't fit within, I can still show up in allyship for a wider range of marginalised and underrepresented communities. And that's really, really important. Because what that does for me and my business, as well as those people that I'm working with, it creates safe and inclusive spaces so that I can grow and I can go out and have more impact in the work that I do. Because when we work with inclusion, it isn't just about the fluffy stuff. And these are conversations that I have so much with so many people as well. A lot of people start to think about inclusion and accessibility for the outward reach, and that's really true. We want to go and have impact for the people that we're working with. We want to be able to create change, and we want to be able to do it for all of the good reasons, because marginalised communities, underrepresented communities do not have as much of a voice, and we need to work hard to provide a better platform for them to come in and work with us. But it does good things for you and your business as well. Who has ever embarked on working with inclusion and accessibility as a strategy? Okay, so quite a few of you earlier raised your hands to say that you've worked or thought about it in your business, but none of you have ever thought of it as a strategic approach to business growth. But it is. And I know that because the work that I do has seen growth happen in so many businesses in so many ways. Who here knew that we had a breakout space for the event today? Keep your hand up if you can, if you've accessed it, used it, picked up a fidget toy today. Amazing. Has it kept you in the room out of interest at times? Yeah, we've got a few nods. Has it kept you a little bit more engaged? Has it allowed you to reset a little bit? Yeah? Does it mean that you'll come back again next time? Yeah. Okay. So as a classic example, that's one small adjustment for accessibility that Sam and I talked about putting into place that has meant that for Sam and her business, she's retained an element of people who want to come back to her event another time because she's worked actively on inclusion and accessibility. That's one small example of some of the things that we do. So we can work in the event space around the way that you set up your venue, the way that you check your venue, gender inclusive toilets, for example, as well as and alongside our gendered spaces too. We can look at the physical accessibility, we can look at the information that we share beforehand, but we can also apply all of those principles to the online space as well. Because what happens and what allows you to grow, do you remember on that little cycle that I showed you a minute ago, we talked about allyship creating perceived safety in spaces? What happens when we start to talk about it and we start to do these things is we create safer spaces for growth, because all of the people who are sat on the periphery of working with us, who might think that we're aligned in values but not really sure, when we start showing up and doing the work, they know it's safe to jump in. They know they've got an inclusive and accessible space, or a space that's working actively towards it, where potentially you're more open to feedback if you do get an oh shit moment and need to create a change because you know better and you do better. So one of the things that I do in the work with my business clients in STEM Story Group is to work with this magical inclusion framework. Everyone loves a framework, don't they? It's a good old thing to look at. And these are the 7 areas that I work with in business when we're working through consultancy. Now at the bottom, you can see that you've got legals and ethics and accessibility. I don't know whether you guys can see it at the back, but I'll read it out anyway. And these underpin every single part of that framework, all the things that you do. You have a responsibility, a legal responsibility as business owners to, under the Equality Act, to make reasonable adjustment, to be anticipatory in that reasonable adjustment. Now that means you've got to take a really good guess at what people are going to need, and you've got to do it anyway, rather than wait to be asked. That's a legal responsibility as business owners. So we have a responsibility. And then moreover, most of us who have inclusive values that align with what we do in the inclusion and accessibility fields also have an ethical value, an ethical part of it that extends a little bit further than that. And then accessibility is like the how, the what we do and how we do it, that's interwoven through all of those other areas. So it connects to all of these other 5 here. But we can't make inclusion and accessibility a thing if we're not living and breathing it from a place of values in our culture. So culture underpins the big bits, and it's really important that that's personal for you. My own personal journey through inclusion has been very much connected to the work I do in the disability sector, or the work I've done in the disability sector for the last 15 years, but it's also deeply connected to my own personal journey with my children, with my own exploration of kind of my own neurodivergence and progression through there. And the reason that I do what I do is because I want my kids to have somewhere to go at the other end of their challenges with the education system. So that's my culture, and I'm very much known in this field of work for the work I do around neurodivergence, but intersectionality is also a really important thing for me. So if you ask anybody about STEM Story, if you ask anybody about, or talk to anybody about me, that'll probably be a fairly clear thread that runs through my business. And in the areas that I don't know about, clinically, personally, through lived experience, I've built my knowledge up by reaching out to other marginalised groups and communities to be able to understand more about some of those barriers so I can show up as a better ally. So that's one thing that you can take away and do today. Have a think about where you can extend your knowledge. Go follow some brilliant accounts. So what I tend to do after I've spoken at an event is I will share some connections with you all for some amazing inclusion consultants that sit in wider fields. So if we're not connected on social media, pop me a friend request and give me a follow, because in the next couple of days, I'll be sharing some content and some information about other people that you can connect with if exploring your knowledge is a little bit of an area that you want to work on. The next phase is your marketing and your messaging. So the first two bits are a little bit like the outward taking processes, the bits that people see, the bits that people know about you in your business, the bits that you put out to the world. And that's really important, because if you're doing it secretly and not telling anyone about it, then no one's going to know, and no one's going to show up, and no one's going to think that they can jump in with you. So talking about what you're doing is also super important, but it's also kind of scary. When we post about things specifically about inclusion and accessibility, that can be a little bit of a scary thing to do. Has anyone stopped themselves posting about a topic or something that they have believed in, thought about, had strong values about, but not really wanted to share because you're not sure what the response is going to be? You don't know if you're going to get called out, you don't know if you're going to use the wrong terminology. Like, showing up for your marketing and your messaging around inclusion and accessibility is scary. And you don't have to do it by yourself either. This is why things like inclusion consultancy exist. This is why I do the work that I do. And I work with my clients really specifically to work on your values, your messaging, why it's important to you, so it becomes a really sustainable thread for your business. Then we've got the stuff that kind of sits behind the scenes. The systems and the processes, because we can't do what we do, we can't talk the talk if we're not walking the walk as well. The systems and the processes are things like your onboarding processes, for example. A few quick wins there for you. Are you asking about pronouns in all of your onboarding systems? Are you making the request for pronouns and additional needs or accessibility requirements a really standard part of your onboarding processes? And if you're not, it's a super easy thing to add in. You can also look at your feedback processes. You can look at what you're doing with your online work. Are you captioning your videos, for example? Are you using plain text? Are you using alt text on your social media posts and your images on your website? If you're not sure what I'm talking about, don't panic, because I'm going to give you some tools and resources to go away with to take a look at this stuff in just a second. But we can't talk about and share that thing in our policy and our paperwork if we haven't done all of the stuff that sits underneath it. You've got to do this work first to show up and start talking and sharing about the things in your policy. A lot of people think, shit, I need an ED&I policy to be inclusive, and you don't. You've got to be doing the stuff and talking about it. You've got to know it, you've got to breathe it, you've got to live it first. Okay, so I said that I'd give you a little something to go away with. This is my Inclusion Essentials kit. If you scan the QR code there, it will get you through to the page where you can sign up for the kit. Now, the kit will give you a cheeky little quiz that will tell you how inclusive you are in your business, and it will look at each of those 7 areas that I've been through. It's about 20 questions. It takes, like most people, about 2 or 3 minutes to do, so it's a really simple thing to get started in your business. It takes a look at those 7 areas and it will give you a little personalised, oh no! Is anyone else getting a broken link? Oh no! I tested that. Is it working for you, Nikki? Oh no!
What we can do is we can send it out to everyone.
That's all right, I hate tech. It's a full moon into it as well. Yeah, I tested it this morning. Okay, so we'll get that shared anyway. But do get in there, because it will get you the cheeky quiz. It will also get you a free download as well. And it will give you some information to go away with around accessibility. So it will give you some checklists in your business to take a look at the things that you're doing online and the things that you're maybe looking at for any in-person events. And it can be a larger event like this, or it might be an in-person day, for example, if you run those two. So 3 quick wins for you. Go and audit your business with the quiz. Have a shout about what you've done and what you've learned today, maybe a key takeaway, a bit of a reflective moment, might be an oh shit moment, might be a light bulb moment, I'm not sure, no judgment either way. And just think about how you can invest in your business for future training. That might be a bit of time, it might be financial, it might be a mixture of both, but inclusion is an investment and it should return to you because you should be using it strategically to help you to grow as well as have impact with the people that you're working with. And if you're not sure how, please come and connect with me, give me a little shout and a wave, hop on for a call, and I'd be more than happy to